Hi. Hi. I just realized I've got a couple of different mute buttons here, so just getting the studio ready. It's really a pleasure to be here. My name is David Berkowitz. I am here from Outernets, and I'm really excited to be with you right now. For those who just joined the presentation with Kingsley, I thought the e-commerce trends in Africa were incredible, and so really thrilled to be here. I'm based in New York City, and it's a pleasure to join all of you virtually today. I'm going to share a few slides about our take on the future of retail and omnichannel commerce, and I am I'm especially eager to just share what's going on and give a little bit of our perspective on the market today, and then I look forward to getting your questions. Please please share as many questions as you like, and then we'll have an exciting session this morning. So now I just wanted to share a little bit about what our take on the future of commerce is, and really when you look at retail today, this is this is very typical right now. People talk about commerce being in all kinds of different channels. We use the analogy of silos quite a bit. We see that that things just going on in all of these very different places, but it has no reflection on how people really are. It's really something that is it's just like marketers say, okay, now we're doing TV ads, now we're doing product promotion, now we're doing this, now we're doing that. But again, it's not how consumers actually function. But omnichannel is very different, right? Omnichannel is something where you have you have a much more holistic, connected experience, and this is something that is just far more real, right? Like when just to give an example here, if you look at this consumer, okay, so she's on her mobile device, she's in a store, where so is she on her mobile device right now? Is she in a physical store? What channel is she in, right? And she might think she's in a few places at once. She while she's in the store, she might have her headphones on and listening to music. She it might be out of home, but she might be in transportation, watching a movie. So anyway, this is why we need to reach people in a way that's far more connected, and creating far more powerful experiences that bridge media. And so this is what I want to talk about a little bit more today. It's the idea that we need to merge physical and digital spaces. And this is this is something that it just speaks to this truth of where no consumer will ever say, oh, I'm in the physical world now, I'm in the digital world now. And I'll share a little bit about how that looks and what this looks like. And again, for those who continue to join, please just have your questions coming in, and I'll do my best to answer all of them very soon. And so looking at how this all works, there's some goals to doing this too, right? You don't want to just merge physical and digital because it sounds cool and fun to do so, or it sounds like a good idea. It's about boosting engagement. It's about increasing sales and having multiple points of contact all at once that really give people a feeling of being immersed in brands and in retailers. Now, I'd imagine you can't give any of these talks today without talking about COVID and the situation the world is in now. I'm in New York City, which for a while was the hardest hit place in the world with COVID. So I've seen a lot of this outside my window, and look, like I mean, marketers need to change things quite a bit. A lot of physical locations are hurting. I'll speak to the United States right now, where a lot of businesses are closing stores, a lot of concerns about shopping malls, a lot of concerns about any kind of confined indoor space. So this is, but people are still out and about in the physical world. People are still out there. They're going to the pharmacies, they're going to the supermarkets, they're going, if you're, if you're having some nicer weather like we are right now here, they're going out to the parks, they're being social. People are dying for more social contact. And so how do you create more measurable real world and digital experiences that all come together really seamlessly? So the goal that we put out there is to increase sales at the intersection of design, interactivity, and data. And so there's some secret sauce in here. There's a computer vision, great buzzword, machine learning, great, but all this doesn't matter until it's like, okay, what does this actually do for you? And how can this work to bring digital and physical together? And so I want to spend a little less time on this and share a little bit more about what we call Omnishops and just ways to maybe inspire you to bring the physical to life digitally. So the idea is that you have some kind of display, could be in a storefront window, could be in store, could be in a store that is for lease or for sale, where there's some kind of screen or display in the window while the location owner is waiting to lease or that location. So the idea is to have contextually relevant messages, audience engagement, and then data to improve this decision making. And the idea is that you're capturing real world pedestrian data, actually analyzing age, gender, totally anonymously of people who are walking by, and then getting a sense of how they're engaging with this kind of media in the physical world. So like the simplest way to talk about it is almost like, how do you put something as interactive and dynamic and data-driven as a website in a physical setting, but make it adapted to how people are at that point of time. The exciting thing is when you do this, when you start being able to measure people's awareness of and attention of media, and imagine a digital display that's right in front of you as you're walking down a busy street, and you see something that's engaging you. You see that the display might even know that there's a higher percentage of women rather than men, that there are 50 people who are more age 50 than age 20 or vice versa. So it's starting to tailor some of that messaging to different audiences, extremely captivating. Maybe it's just having some fun with it, turning it into a little bit of a game. And so when you're doing this, you have this opportunity to capture people all the way through the sales funnel. And this is not something people are used to doing in physical channels. And this is one of the reasons, I'm really excited. I come from a digital agency background. For those who know Dentsu and Publicis, I work for some of their firms in the United States. And then, working with technologies that are able to capture that full funnel of data as people are going through, understanding people's impressions, sure, important, great. You know what your potential reach is, but then how many people are paying attention to it? How many people are engaging with it? How many people are actually acting on this? And and then everything is completely anonymous until you capture someone's information. Someone opts in with, say, their mobile phone, they scan a QR code, something to that effect. So typically there's been this shift from multi-channel to omni-channel. So multi-channel is great, doing a lot of channels at the same time, always important, but omni-channel is like, how do you do this all together? And so that merging physical and digital, always extremely important. So I'll share a little bit more about how this works, like where you can encounter these kinds of storefronts. So you could put them in your own store window. You could put them in a store and kind of optimize in-store media. It could be used for shopper marketing. You could do this at partner stores. You could do this at third-party locations. And I love that some questions are coming in. I'm actually going to address the first one live right now, since it was about this funnel in particular. And please keep questions coming. This is your time, and I really want to value this. Someone asked a really great question: why 2 seconds for the funnel? Any research to show if 2 seconds is reliable? The great thing is that we set this as a benchmark where, look, like if someone's just walking by, looks at a display, then it could even be accidental, right? They might just be trying to figure what's going on. But if you think of just a full 2 seconds, 1, 2, right? Like by this point, then it's not just someone who happens to be looking in that direction, and you can set a pretty limited range for where people's attention is. And the nice thing is, say you're a major retailer, say you're that business owner, say you're the advertiser, and you say, no, you know what? For us, it's 3 seconds. For us, we want to capture people who are paying attention for 5 seconds or more. For us, that's when we know someone's really aware of our brand. Great, change that on your end. It's a simple setting. The other reason why I'd say 2 seconds is relevant is that if you look at how some platforms like a Facebook or like a Snapchat and others have counted views of advertising, usually they're somewhere in that 2 or 3 second range. I'll get to the privacy question in a little bit because it's a little bit of a bigger one, but I'll keep going for a minute. But please keep questions coming in. I will get to the privacy one in a moment because it's a great question. So mention some of the kinds of locations where this stuff can where this stuff could play out. Primary benefits. So driving sales, new customers, driving customer signups, capturing that kind of information, brand impressions, and a safe engagement strategy where everything we're doing here is either gesture-based or emotion-based. Smile for the camera. I'll show you a few examples in a second. I know that's a lot easier to process when you see some examples. And then interactions with mobile devices. So, and the call to action can be really varied, right? Like you can ask people to share a photo on social media. You could say like, download this app and then complete a transaction or some experience from your phone. You could actually use this to drive people. If you have it in a third-party location, you could drive people to a brick and mortar store. You could poll people, like get some actually real world intelligence, and then capture anonymous data on demographics, so age and gender in particular, and so some other kinds of information. I'll show a few examples, and I'll address the privacy question as well. Here's one for that we ran in Germany for Nestle Purina. And so this is what I mentioned about turning something into a game, having a little fun. You wave your hand and you start interacting with this adorable cat that's in the window. And the fun thing here is that it was actually set up to link to a vending machine. And this is what the brand wanted to do. So they took a store that was for lease. It was just empty, open space that was not being used for anything. So the brand here leased it, put the screen on, put a nice little skin and wrap around it, and then as someone plays this game, if they want this sample of the pet food, then they can actually get it live. This is one of the more involved examples of what we've seen, but amazing to even tie fulfillment into it, and you're capturing people for 30 seconds to play a game here. Now, as far as privacy goes, then there's the question of we're not capturing any personally identifiable information. There's no facial recognition. There's no stored data like that. It's just tallying the estimate of like the pedestrians and attention, and then going from there. And then as far as the affordability goes, it's designed to be not something that's like for absolutely anyone and everyone. There are some setup costs, and the idea is to at least have have some plan to keep building on this for a while, but there is some pricing for scale, so that look like, especially if you know the return on investment you can get out of this, especially if you have some product where it's like you're equating it to what in this case a typical cost of product sampling is. In other cases, here, like here's an example: you smile for the camera, and it turns yourself into some emoji. I really like this example from Moet Hennessy. So liquor brand, unwrap a bottle of champagne. This was in Grand Central Terminal, one of the biggest train stations in the United States, in New York City here. And so here you wave it, you unlock a code, and they were able to track a few 100,000 engagements. They were able to track what the email, how many emails were collected. The return on investment was 10x. So look, like if you're able to then calculate this all the way through, you can get a really good estimate of what your return on investment is. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's like for every single business out there, but I think that there are plenty of even smaller businesses that could make use of it, and it's pretty easy to ship these kits all over the world, and with some very simple setup instructions. You just need a camera and you just need a camera and a processor that we send with it. I had a question about can this apply in Asia? Absolutely. Well, first of all, you have a lot of high density cities with a lot of pedestrian traffic. It works extremely well for that. It's better for that than say like a drive-by billboard where you're targeting cars or something like that. Outernets was actually about to launch something in Shanghai in December, January. Clearly, some of the global health and travel issues got in the way of that. So that's actually launching in the same retailer's US stores this coming quarter, because we've all had to grapple with this. So some things have been slowed down. So far, I don't think that there have been any live installations in Asia, but if you but especially in major cities and markets where there's a lot of foot traffic, where there's a lot of retail activity. I mean, it works especially at great, whether it's a higher consideration brand or even something where you're trying to get some of that brand awareness and shopping interest, drive to store. So appreciate that question, and look, happy to discuss this at our booth after. There's plenty here. My contact info is here, because I know we only have 2 minutes left. Lots more examples. You can download all of this stuff. How can data improve the performance? Well, the great thing is you can optimize it, right? Like you can see which messages are people responding to. You can test messages in the real world. I'll even just very quickly show an example with Cushman and Wakefield, a real estate firm, where they were actually polling people on the street, and you could say, oh, women are responding to this one, or typically like a 40-year-old male is responding to this kind of poll. And have a lot of very detailed information that, in this case, the realtor could apply and sell into tenants. I mean, it's just the same kind of principles that a retailer could apply for their own products. And we have time for maybe one more question. Any issues with potential fires when this runs overnight? This is all. It's pretty secure. There are questions about security issues, fires, anything like that. No more than say like typical digital displays you see in storefront windows that are running 24/7. So I mean, we're happy to use existing retailers or businesses' existing screens. It's insured. I can get into lots of those kinds of details. Hacking. I mean, these are companies that was built on Israeli technology. Here, the founders from Israel. Security is a huge concern, and something that they've tested quite a bit. We've had this vetted by a lot of international companies, and haven't seen any issues on that front. So it seems to hold up to any global standards we've come across. We're happy to have you kick the tires and test it more. Again, please reach out to me. Feel free to chat with me at the booth. I'll be there right after this. Thank you so much to everyone who attended. I really appreciate being, joining you all the way from New York City. Hope to get to see you at a physical event in the years ahead. And thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate it.